Welcome to According to Sam, folks. This is episode 269. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys had a good holiday weekend, got enough turkey. And like I said, we're going to get back into politics today. We're going to start looking at some of Trump's cabinet picks, and I'm probably going to be looking at these cabinet picks and explaining what I think Trump is doing with these cabinet picks up until the end of the year. I have a lot to share with you guys. There was a lot that happened over this holiday weekend that is going to get us kicked off with this conversation. And before last week and doing the series of podcasts that I did last week, we started talking about the Attorney General pick, first with Matt Gaetz and then with Pam Bondi. But there's been some more picks that Trump has made, and I want to explain to you what's going on. So we're going to get into a little bit of it today and really get into it and start breaking this stuff down on Friday. Now, I tell the story all the time. If you don't know, I used to be a Democrat, much like Trump, much like Elon Musk, much like Tulsi Gabbard, much like RFK. I used to be a Democrat. And in 2008, I supported Barack Obama. I believe Barack Obama and all the things that he was campaigning on in 2008. He was running on a transformative platform of change. He was running as a populist. And I believe that the country needed change. I believe the government needed change. I was a huge supporter of Barack Obama. And I tell the story all the time that I started to turn on Obama even before he took his oath of office in January of 2009. Even before he took his oath of office, I realized that I had been conned and that nothing that Barack Obama had run on and his commitment to change in 2008, that it was all bogus. And I could tell that I had been conned when he started putting his cabinet together, when he started nominating Bob Gates, who was Bush's CIA director, and put him in charge of the Pentagon. I knew that it was going to be the same foreign policy. He put Hillary Clinton in charge of the State Department. Again, I knew it was going to be the same foreign policy, no change. All the people he put in his economic recovery team and in his Treasury department, Larry Summers, Geithner, Gensler. I could tell by the people that Barack Obama started to appoint to his cabinet positions and put people that he put around him, that he was not committed to the change that he had run on. Now, Donald Trump and what he's doing with his cabinet picks after this most recent election, it's the opposite for me. And I went from being an Obama supporter to a Ron Paul supporter to a Trump supporter. And Donald Trump's picks, to me, show me that he was serious about the commitments that he made to shake things up, to bring change to the bureaucracy in Washington, and he was serious about it. And I can tell that he was serious about it by the cabinet picks that he's making and the people that he wants to bring into his inner circle in his second term. That he is serious about reforming the intelligence community, reforming the Justice Department, reforming the FBI. I can tell that he's serious about it because of the people that he's picked to head these positions and these cabinet positions, and they're all reformers. And one of the picks that he made over the weekend was Kash Patel, and Kash Patel has been picked by Donald Trump to head the FBI Let's start with this clip.
Tonight, President-elect Donald Trump's pick of hardline loyalist Kash Patel to lead the FBI, sparking mixed reaction.
He represents the type of change that we need to see in the FBI.
So I will vote no, and I will organize not just my colleagues, but the American public.
Patel says he'll return the agency to its rightful mission, protecting the American people.
I'll return the agency to its rightful position of protecting the American people. That somewhere the FBI got off track is what Kash has been saying, and he's not the only one. The president, many have been saying that the FBI needs reformed, that the people don't trust the FBI and the Department of Justice. So Kash Patel, much like Matt Gaetz, who Trump had first appointed to be the Attorney General, Matt Gaetz was a firebrand. Kash Patel is a firebrand. I've told you that Donald Trump himself is a firebrand, and he is putting firebrands in all of these positions, and Kash Patel is no different. He is picked to shake up the FBI.
I am honored to be here in support of Donald J. Trump.
Despite holding several positions in the first Trump administration, Patel is facing criticism for a lack of experience, as well as his controversial positions.
We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state.
Mr. Trump's pick underscoring his dislike for the current FBI director whom he appointed, Chris Wray, whose term isn't set to end until 2027.
Apparently he has demonstrated too much independence and objectivity.
So we're going to look at a clip here in a moment. This was an appearance yesterday that Jamie Raskins had on CNN State of the Union. And he's saying about Christopher Wray that Christopher Wray has shown too much independence. You know, much like Trump has admitted that he made a mistake appointing Jeff Sessions and appointing Bill Barr as attorney generals. Trump made this appointment in haste. He fired James Comey. We're going to get into all of that, why he fired James Comey. And then he appointed Christopher Wray, who is a Republican. But Christopher Wray has been a huge disappointment. Not only was he a disappointment when he served as director of FBI in the remainder of the Trump administration, but even as a director of the FBI in the Biden administration, this guy has been a huge disappointment.
7.
Apparently he has demonstrated too much independence and objectivity in the job for Donald Trump.
Wray now faced with the choice to either resign or wait to be fired. The FBI reacting in a statement saying Director Wray's focus remains on the men and women of the FBI, the people we do the work with, and the people we do the work for. Patel's Senate confirmation could be an uphill battle. While many Republicans agree with his goals for the FBI, others have previously said it should operate free of presidential influence.
Free of presidential influence, okay. So this is a little bit more of the interview that Jamie Raskins did on CNN yesterday. Let's take a listen. I want to explain because he's going to be asked, do you see any examples of why the FBI needs reformed? Millions of Americans believe that the FBI does need reform. Many of the Republicans in the House of Representatives, even some Democrats in Congress, believe that the FBI needs reform. So this is the question that is going to be addressed to Jamie Raskins. Do you see any examples of where the FBI needs reformed? Take a listen.
Do you think there are any issues inside the FBI around politicization, as many who voted for Donald Trump seem to say?
Well, undoubtedly, if you look at it historically, for example, during the COINTELPRO period.
Undoubtedly, if you look historically at COINTELPRO, take a note of that. We're going to look at what COINTELPRO is here in a moment, but he references COINTELPRO.
Many who voted for Donald Trump seem to say.
Well, undoubtedly, if you look at it historically, for example, during the COINTELPRO period, the FBI really was weaponized against Dr. King and the civil rights movement.
Many people.
And the peace movement. There was, decades of the FBI being basically used as a political instrument. There's an interesting book about that, about J. Edgar Hoover by Beverly Gage, that people can look at. I mean, and so I haven't seen what the proof is that the FBI has been weaponized against a political party or the Department of Justice. Of course, this Department of Justice has brought charges against a Democratic U.S. Senator in New Jersey, a Democratic congressman in Texas. And so some people just seem to think that it should go only in one direction. And if it doesn't, then somehow it's politicized.
So Jamie Raskin says, I haven't seen anything, no examples. And we've seen examples in the past of abuses of power at the FBI and reasons to distrust the FBI going back to the 1970s or 60s and 70s with the use of COINTELPRO. But I haven't seen anything lately. I haven't seen any misuses of power from the Justice Department, from the FBI. Well, I'm going to see if I can help you find some recent misuses of power, some recent examples of justice not being blind at the Justice Department and at the FBI. I'm going to see if I can help you find some examples, Jamie Raskins. So one example that we got, so this interview that Jamie Raskins did on CNN was yesterday morning. And then yesterday evening, we got a blatant example of justice not being blind and a partisan justice system. And that's when Joe Biden, and it was announced that Joe Biden was going to pardon his son, Hunter. I want you to take a listen to this clip.
All right, we just told you the president has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, sparing him from a possible prison sentence for federal felony gun and tax convictions. Now, the move comes after the president.
So listen to that. Listen to that, that he pardoned him for felony gun and tax charges. That's not what the pardon's for. We're going to look at the pardon here in a moment. And this is what everybody is alluding to, and Biden even alludes to in his statement, that the pardon has to do with these two federal charges where he was actually charged. One in Delaware was the tax charge in Delaware, and then the gun charge is in California. So a lot of people believe that, and Joe Biden is even, we're going to look at his statement here in a moment. He wants people to believe that the pardon that he just issued for his son is about these two charges and these two charges only, the tax charge in Delaware and the gun charge in California. But that's not true.
The president has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, sparing him from a possible prison sentence for federal felony gun and tax convictions. Now, the move comes after the president and the White House repeatedly, time after time, said President Biden would not pardon his son. The president
repeatedly, time after time, over and over again, before the election, they said that we're not going to pardon him. No, we're not going to pardon him. We're not going to pardon him. And why are they doing that before the election? Because they're trying to use lawfare on Donald Trump, and they're telling everyone that no one is above the law. So Joe Biden had to deny over and over again, himself denying it through his press secretary. No, we're not going to pardon. No, we're not going to pardon him. Why? Because they had to keep the appearance up that no one was above the law while they're trying to use the lawfare on Donald Trump. Now, let's get to Joe Biden's statement. This is the statement that he put out on whitehouse.gov. Today, I signed a pardon for my son, Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere in the Justice Department's decision making, and I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted without aggravating factors like use of a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon, without aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchases, so he wasn't a repeat offender, or buying a weapon as a straw purchase, people are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely on how they filled out the gun form. So that was the charge, is that on the gun form it asked if you were using any drugs or if you're an addict, and he said no, and it was a lie because he was an addict. So he filled out the form, lied on the form, and then he bought the gun. So that's the charge. So this is what Biden is saying, is that never happens. Those who are late paying their taxes because of serious addiction, but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties, are typically given no criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. So he says that the tax charge in Delaware, that's not common for people to be, and this is a lie. I mean, tons of people have gone to jail for not paying their taxes. Talk about Wesley Snipes or many others. Anyway, that he says that this never happens in that Hunter is being treated unfairly. The charges in this case came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. Well, the investigations started even before you were elected. The investigations started during the Trump administration, maybe even going back to the Obama administration for some of these. So the investigations were already on the way. So for him to say that the charges only came because my political opponents in Congress instigated them, no, the investigations were open, and the more serious charges, the charges that we're going to talk about here in a moment, the charges of acting as a foreign agent, those charges were never brought. Those are the charges that his opponents were looking at and wanted him to be charged with. So he says that these charges were only brought because my opponents in Congress instigated them, even though the investigations were open even before he was sworn as president. Then a carefully negotiated plea deal. This is very important. It's very important because this is Biden's statement that these charges were only instigated. They only brought the charges because my opponents in Congress, they instigated and forced my DOJ to bring the charges. That these charges were brought, and then a carefully negotiated plea deal. No, it wasn't that carefully negotiated. You're going to see here in a moment that the plea deal was not carefully negotiated. The plea deal was a mess, and the judge in Delaware blew it up. Then a carefully negotiated plea deal agreed to by the Department of Justice, his Department of Justice, unraveled in the courtroom, with a number of my political opponents in Congress taking credit for bringing political pressure to the process, which is a lie. It's an absolute. He is lying so much just in this statement. Had the plea deal been held, it would have been a fair, reasonable resolution to Hunter's case. If the plea deal would have went through and the judge in Delaware wouldn't have blown up the plea deal, then that would have been a reasonable resolution. But he agreed and said that he wasn't going to even after the plea deal blew up, he kept saying, I'm not going to pardon. I'm not going to pardon him. I'm not going to pardon him. So he knew that the plea deal had already blown up when he was saying over and over again, I'm not going to pardon my son. When he was sending his press secretary out to say that that Hunter Biden wasn't going to be pardoned. The plea deal had already been blown up. The plea deal was over. He had already been convicted in Delaware, and Joe Biden is saying over and over again that he's not going to pardon him. So the plea deal blowing up had nothing to do with his decision to pardon him, because if that was the case, he would have said it right after after Hunter was convicted in Delaware. He would have said, I'm going to pardon my son. But no, he wanted to keep up the air that no one is above the law while we're trying to use lawfare on Donald Trump. All right. So no reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's case can reach any other conclusion that Hunter was singled out because he is my son. And that is wrong. If it was true, if that was true, it would be wrong, but it's not true. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me, and there is no reason to believe it will stop here. No, not with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi heading DOJ and FBI. There's no reason to believe that it would stop. I agree with you there. That some of these investigations that were still open, Hunter Biden could have easily been charged with when these guys come in and start looking at this evidence. I mean, many of these cases have been slow walked for the past 6 years, and even by Weiss, who was appointed by Trump, they've slow walked these investigations and only brought charges on the two weakest crimes that this guy committed. But he committed tons of other crimes, as you're going to see, and the pardon that he got from his father relates to all of the crimes, not just the two that they're alluding to, that Biden is alluding to in this statement, and that the media is talking about, the tax crime and the gun crime. Those aren't the only crimes that he was pardoned of. He was pardoned of any crimes in the past 10 years that he has done, any of those crimes, as we're getting ready to see. So these are lies, and he is lying in this statement. At the same time, he's saying this. Let's read the last paragraph. For my entire career, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. You're lying. This has never been your principle, bro. You had to drop out of the 1988 primary because you were caught lying about your resume. You have done nothing but lie to the American people. But he says here in this statement where he's lying, for my entire career, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth while he's lying. They'll be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected our process. Oh, so you believe politics has infected the Justice Department? That's funny, because Jamie Raskin says that he hasn't seen any examples of the Justice Department being political. That's what he just said. He didn't see any examples. I'm going to help him out, show him some examples of the Justice Department being political outside of COINTELPRO. He does mention COINTELPRO, but says he hasn't seen any examples. But Joe Biden says he sees an example right here. I believe in the justice system. But as I've wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made the decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope American people will understand. Nope, we don't understand, bro. We do not understand why a father and a president will come to this decision. Nope, we do not understand. You lied to us for months. And so the plea deal, let's get to the plea deal. So he says that the reason that I came to this conclusion and that I had to pardon him is because when the plea deal blew up, then that was a fair resolution. But when the plea deal blew up and then my son's convicted and pleads guilty in California, then that is what led me to now saying that I am going to pardon him, even though I said over and over again after the plea deal blew up that I wasn't going to pardon him. Dan Goldman, representative from New York, his question about that here on CNN. Take a listen.
In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell.
Now listen to the question. She says in the question, I'm playing a clip of you after the plea deal blew up. Again, Joe Biden is asked over and over again, are you going to pardon your son after the plea deal blew up? And now they're saying that the reason that he's pardoned him is because the plea deal blew up. It's ridiculous.
In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him. And I think you see that in this case, where he kept on, and Merrick Garland kept on, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to investigate the president's son. If there is not an indication of the independence of the Department of Justice beyond that, I don't know what we could look for.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon. That was a satisfactory outcome.
It already fallen through.
That only was. Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through. And I hear what you're saying.
So basically, he's using the plea deal blowing up, just like Joe Biden. They're all using the same narrative that the reason Joe Biden is pardoning Hunter now, even after he repeatedly said over and over again that he wasn't going to pardon him, is because the plea deal blew up. And that's the same narrative that Goldman here is using. And she has to remind him, no, the clip that I played of you saying there won't be a pardon was after the plea deal had blown up. Joe Biden being asked over and over again, Karine Jean-Pierre coming out over and over again, was after the plea deal had already blown up. So he's saying that the plea deal and blowing up is the reason that you have decided to pardon him now is a lie. It's a lie. One of the many lies that they're telling. But let's look at the plea deal. Why did the plea deal blow up? Why did the plea deal blow up? So this is in a court in Delaware. And Joe Biden's Justice Department makes a sweetheart plea deal with Joe Biden's lawyer, with Hunter Biden's lawyer, Joe Biden's Justice Department, Hunter Biden's lawyer. They make a sweetheart plea deal, and then they go to the judge there in Delaware to sign off on it. Now, remember, only the tax charges in Delaware, the gun charges in California. But the federal judge is in Delaware, and they want her to sign off on this plea deal for both the tax charge in Delaware and the gun charge in California. And when the judge starts prying more into it, she starts asking about some of these other investigations that are going on, that are ongoing, that are being slow walked in the Justice Department. Namely the FARA violation, the acting as a foreign agent in Ukraine while he was working for Burisma. That investigation was still open, and charges in that investigation could still have been charged and still could have been charged when Trump comes in the next couple of weeks. So those are the charges also that he's been pardoned of. But those investigations were open. So when they go in front of the judge, they're in Delaware. She's asking questions about this plea deal. So this plea deal is for the tax charge, which is here in this court, but also for the gun charge, which is in a California court. What about these other investigations that are still open and potential charges that may arise from that? Does this plea deal cover that? She starts asking. They didn't know. Here, listen to this clip about how the plea deal blew up.
Hunter Biden left the federal courthouse in Wilmington after the plea agreement reached with prosecutors last month collapsed. The president's son was expected to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and was expected to enter a diversion program to resolve a 3rd charge for felony gun possession. But Trump-appointed judge Mary Ellen Noreika's questions about the scope and structure of the agreement ultimately led to it unraveling.
Plea agreements fall apart every day in federal court, but they don't fall apart in high-profile cases like this, based on such fundamental misunderstandings.
The critical disagreement between U.S. Attorney David Weiss, a Trump appointee, and Hunter Biden's legal team is over whether the plea would close the door on future charges for other possible crimes.
That's why the plea deal broke up and was blown up, because the question was, does this plea deal, the judge asked, does this plea deal that you want me to sign off? Does this cover potential other crimes like FARA violations, like, cocaine violations, any other violations that, or these investigations are open on him? Does this plea deal cover those charges as well? And they didn't know the answer to that. And that's why the plea deal blew up.
U.S. Attorney David Weiss, a Trump appointee, and Hunter Biden's legal team is over whether the plea would close the door on future charges for other possible crimes.
Other possible crimes.
Consistently, the probe is ongoing.
The probe is ongoing. The investigation into those other crimes is ongoing. You hear what I'm saying? That the other crimes, not the gun charge, not the tax charge, the other stuff. That investigation is ongoing. That investigation is still open. And this plea deal, Weiss was saying, no, if charges arise out of those other investigations, the FARA violations, the cocaine, any of that other stuff, he can still be charged with that. This plea deal does not cover those other charges, not the tax charge, not the gun charge, the other stuff. That's what we're worried about. We're worried about the other stuff, not the tax charge, not the gun charge, the other stuff.
The team is over whether the plea would close the door on future charges for other possible crimes.
Other possible crimes.
Consistently, the probe is ongoing.
Probe's ongoing in the other stuff. The other stuff. What's the other stuff, people? What's the other stuff? What's the other stuff that we're talking about here? Hold on. We got other stuff. So this is the actual wording of the pardon that Joe Biden issued for his son, Robert Hunter Biden, a full and unconditional pardon. An full and unconditional blanket pardon for Robert Hunter Biden. For what? For what? For taxes? For guns? No. For those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period of January 1st, 2014? 2014 when Obama was president? Wait, I must be reading that wrong. Let me read that again, because I was told that this pardon was for tax charges and gun charges. That's what I was told this pardon was for. But it looks like the pardon was for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or undertaken or taken part in during the period of January 1st, 2014 and December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses, charges, or prosecuted, including any that have resulted in convictions. So the conviction that he's already had in Delaware by special counsel David Weiss, give you the docket number, United States Court, District of Delaware. And so it does give the two dockets of those two charges in Delaware and California. He pled guilty to the one in California. He was convicted of the one in Delaware. But these aren't the only two charges he's being pardoned from. He's being pardoned from all charges that took place from a 10-year period, starting in January 1st during the Obama administration in 2014. What's going on right here? January 2014. That's Euromaidan. That's in the middle of Euromaidan. So this takes us back to Ukraine and the coup in Ukraine, and Joe Biden coming in after the coup, and his son getting a job at the corrupt energy company at Burisma back in So all those are covered too. And the FARA investigations and all the other charges that the judge is asking in this plea agreement. Does this plea agreement cover all these other charges? And Weiss says, no, those investigations are still open. He's being pardoned for those crimes too. He's being pardoned for everything. Boy. This was Scott Jennings. This guy's been killing it on CNN. This guy's got the best job in the world. I would love to have his job, just taking it to these people on CNN every day. He's just having fun, you know? He doesn't get angry, anything. He's just hitting it out of the park. They're pitching it his way down the middle, and he's just hitting it out of the park. This guy is killing it on CNN. But he got some wood on the ball here in this interview. Take a listen.
Joe Biden is leaving office making the strongest possible case for Donald Trump that anybody could possibly make it, and that's that our government and our justice system is of, by, and for the elites and nobody else. He ran to banish Trumpism from our political system in this country, and he has left it politically and now institutionally.
Look at their faces. Look at their faces, I swear.
The strongest possible political force in this country. It is a complete and utter failure by the head of the Democratic Party and the President of the United States. Never again do I want to hear, oh, Donald Trump's a liar. You can't believe anything he says. Donald Trump will abuse his power. Donald Trump will only use the system to benefit himself and his family and so on and so forth. Never again. I have one question for Karen, and that is, why did he need an 11-year blanket pardon going back to 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president?
Why does he need a pardon like this? Why does he need a 11-year, decade-long pardon that goes back to the Obama administration? If he didn't do nothing wrong, if he didn't commit any crimes, if there was nothing wrong with what he did in Ukraine and in China and selling access to his father, if he didn't do anything wrong, why does he need a pardon going back to the Obama administration when his father was vice president? Why? I mean, this is a question that everyone should be asking themselves.
Never again. I have one question for Karen, and that is, why did he need an 11-year blanket pardon going back to 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president? We are sitting on the biggest cover-up of who knows what crimes, and Joe Biden amazingly knows exactly, roughly, when it started. He knows.
No, so the thing is that, yes, Joe Biden knows when it started. He was taking part in it. But the thing is about that takes us back to why Donald Trump wants Kash Patel to head the FBI. Kash Patel, that he wants to return the FBI back to its rightful mission to protecting the American people, that the FBI has secrets in there. The FBI knows what went on in Ukraine. The FBI has been investigating this forever. Like I said, that they were slow walking a lot of these investigations because they didn't want to bring the charges on the most serious crimes that now Hunter Biden has been pardoned of. The gun charge and the tax charge are not serious charges. I would agree with Joe Biden on that and many others who are saying that those are not serious. But there are more serious charges that Hunter Biden has now been pardoned. He's been pardoned of those crimes. And the FBI has those secrets in the FBI. They know when this started, what the evidence is. And they slow walk the investigation, and that's why they don't want someone like Patel in the FBI who is going to release these secrets. Someone like Bondi and DOJ who is going to assist him in the releasing of these secrets in the FBI. But they know, and there's tons of corruption. This again was the ABC report back in, I guess this was in 2020. Maybe even 2019, but they were reporting about this corruption that they were trying to investigate. ABC News trying to investigate Joe Biden for his son's dealings in Ukraine. And this takes us, this really gets us kicked off in doing this series of podcasts because we're going to get into talking about Tulsi Gabbard, who is appointed to be the new DNI. Same thing with Patel. She's going to help, get to the bottom and all the secrets on what was really going on in Ukraine. The biggest complaints about her is that people are calling her a Russian agent and that She's, spreading Russian propaganda and all this stuff. All of this Hunter Biden pardon, it takes us back to Ukraine. It deals with Ukraine, with Russia. It's in the middle of the coup. The pardon goes back to 2014 in the middle of the coup. All of this is this pardon highlights all of this stuff and the corruption in all of these agencies. But even the news media, ABC News, was asking these questions 5 years ago. Take a listen.
Mr. Vice President, Tom Yamas with ABC News. How you doing? Got a quick question for you. It's a question we tried to ask repeatedly. Can we ask you about Ukraine and China? But kept getting blocked. Questions about foreign deals his son Hunter Biden pursued.
My father, Joe Biden.
In countries where Joe Biden was working as America's top diplomat. In 2014, Ukraine.
In 2014. So the pardon goes back to 2014.
Sick of corruption, revolted. Vice President Joe Biden went to Kiev to help the new government.
You have to.
He didn't go to Kiev to help the new government. He was sent to Kiev.
Ukrainians, sick of corruption, revolted. Vice President Joe Biden went to Kiev to help the new government.
You have to fight the cancer of corruption.
But then something strange happened. Just 3 weeks later, a Ukrainian natural gas company, Burisma, accused of corruption, appoints Hunter Biden, seen here in their promotional videos, to their board of directors, paying his firm more than $1 million a year. Hunter, a lawyer who had just been discharged from the Navy Reserves for testing positive for cocaine.
Mr. Hunter Biden.
He had served on other boards, but had no known experience in Ukraine or natural gas. We went to Kiev and found even among Joe Biden supporters in Ukraine, Hunter's hiring was troubling.
How do you judge what Hunter Biden was doing?
I think that Hunter Biden did a very bad thing.
Hunter Biden did a very bad thing, and his father just pardoned him from the very bad thing that Hunter Biden did, and essentially covered up what was going on with him as well. So again, I just want to show some of the videos that are going around of the many times that Biden not only said himself that he had no plans on pardoning his son, and then also sent his press secretary out to tell this lie to the American people over and over again. Take a listen.
Second one, will the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear. And I said no.
No pardon.
Okay. Let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No pardon.
You've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentence for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no.
No.
It's still a no.
No pardon. It'll be a no. It's going to be a no. No pardon. And then he ends up pardoning his son. I mean, who was surprised by that? If you're surprised by that, you are gullible. You are a sucker if you were surprised by Joe Biden pardoning his son. But the media, how they ate up these lies and ate up the lie from Joe Biden and his administration saying over and over again they weren't going to pardon his son, and would use it as a fact check when people would say on their programs that Joe Biden's going to pardon his son. Just wait and see and watch. They would say, oh, fact check. Joe Biden says he's not going to pardon his son. There won't be a pardon because, of course, they said it. And this clip, I don't even have time to play this whole clip. It's 9 minutes long. Just want to show you a little bit of it. This is why the media is so discredited. This is why the media is garbage and nobody's watching them. The media is complete trash, and this is yet another example. Take a listen.
Presidential promise to put the law before family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that.
and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his
This is my favorite right here.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but he said it.
I love that part. And Chris Wallace says, let's wait to see what happens when he loses. And she goes, but he said it. He said he wasn't going to pardon him.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but he said it.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
Boy, these
So the
people are
challenge for him
clowns.
is really
Just
to continue
clowns.
to live up to his values when it was really personal, and he did that today.
It seems like a pretty normal, straightforward answer, but it takes new weight when we see what Trump is saying about the outcome of his trial, what we're hearing from other Republicans who say they don't accept the jury's verdict here in New York.
The contrast is profound. To sit there and say, well, I'm not going to intervene in the legal process and I wouldn't pardon my son. One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system.
Wow.
And on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting.
Just wow.
The current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son.
Yeah, so much respect.
Yeah,
again, just wow.
It's all about the contrast.
President Biden saying, I will respect whatever this jury decides,
That's
versus
right.
Donald Trump after he was convicted on 34 counts, saying the entire system is rigged against him.
Their latest attack has been that Joe Biden has politicized and weaponized the DOJ, right? That was the whole argument around Donald Trump's conviction. And this week, of course, Hunter Biden was found guilty, and Joe Biden has very clearly said he would not pardon his son, he would not commute his
Very
sentence.
clearly.
How stark is this difference? I mean,
How stark is this
Republicans keep
difference?
making this argument now that
I've only played a minute and 52 seconds of this 9-minute clip. These people have no credibility. These people are complete clowns, complete and utter clowns. All of them. And this election has just exposed them, the media, but not only the media, the Democratic Party. I would be embarrassed to say that I was a Democrat today. I would be humiliated to say that I belong to the Democratic Party. Over and over again, no one is above the law, while they're using lawfare to persecute their political enemy. The same things that they're accusing Trump of is what they're doing. They're using the lawfare. They're going after Trump while they are letting first Hillary Clinton off. I mean, we're going to get into it, not in this podcast, but the next. They use the justice system to let her off for crimes that she absolutely committed, but she gets off, and then they go after Trump and initiate a special counsel investigation with the Mueller investigation for this Russiagate stuff that lasted 2 years. And the same people that were investigating Trump in the FBI were investigating Hillary Clinton. They let Hillary Clinton off, and then they launch a special counsel investigation on Donald Trump. They let Hunter Biden off for the crimes that he committed, and they slow walk the investigations in the FBI on the crimes he committed, but they put another special counsel, what's his name? Smith, whatever his name is. And then they indict Trump unto indict. So they're going after Trump, special counsel investigations, indictments, while they're letting Hillary Clinton off, while they're letting Hunter Biden off. And at the same time, they're using the lawfare to go after Donald Trump, the narrative over and over again. This is why Joe Biden has to say, I'm not going to pardon his son before the election, because the narrative is no one is above the law. No one is above the law.
no one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law. No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Wow.
No one is above the law.
Wow, these people are clowns. Again, I would be embarrassed to say that I was a Democrat. So COINTELPRO, Jamie Raskins mentioned COINTELPRO, and he says, yeah, the FBI was corrupt in the 1960s, and they went after Martin Luther King. They went after the Black Panthers. They went after the Communist Party, the anti-war party, the Vietnam Party, anti-Vietnam groups that were protesting the Vietnam War. They used COINTELPRO to go after them. And what was COINTELPRO? First of all, before we get into COINTELPRO happened under J. Edgar Hoover. And if you don't know, J. Edgar Hoover was the FBI director for 4 decades. He served as the director of the FBI from 1935 to 1972. He is the reason that Congress put a 10-year limit on the term of director of FBI. And J. Edgar Hoover was the director of the FBI when they were using COINTELPRO to go after these groups, violate their Fourth Amendment. Many of these tactics that they were using were illegal. To read this, COINTELPRO is an abbreviation derived from counterintelligence program. So COINTELPRO means counterintelligence program, was a series of covert means clandestine, means secret, a series of secret and illegal projects conducted between 1956 and 1971 by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting American political organizations. So this is what Jamie Raskins was making reference to and saying that we had problems with the FBI in the past and with COINTELPRO going after Martin Luther King, but I haven't seen anything like this in the future. Well, or seen anything like this in the present is what Jamie Raskin says. Well, I want you to listen to, I have a little bit more time here. I don't have a lot of time, but I want you to listen to Senator Whitehouse. And Senator Sheldon Whitehouse is a Democrat. Repeat that again. He is a Democrat senator from the state of Rhode Island. And he is questioning Director Wray about his obstruction and the obstruction of the FBI and not answering questions of the Judiciary Committee. Now, the FBI, the DOJ, are all under the executive branch. And the real magic of our country, and while we've survived for 150 years nearly, is because of the separation of powers. And the Congress, who is elected by us, they have oversight over the executive branch. The FBI has to come to Congress, and when Congress asks the FBI questions, the FBI has to answer those questions and give Congress the answer to those questions, or Congress can't do oversight. And Sheldon Whitehouse, Senator Whitehouse, is going to, in this clip, he's going to grill Director Wray about the FBI's obstruction, the FBI not answering questions and giving Congress the information that they need to do oversight. I want you to take a listen to this.
Director Wray, welcome. Before we get to the business of this hearing, we've got some, in fact, a lot of. I gotta say this. So the reason that Director Wray is in this hearing is because of January 6th. This hearing is in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and Director Wray is testifying about the January 6th attack. And these are some of the other things that Kash Patel, they don't want Kash Patel to get to the bottom of and get in there and find out how many agents were at January 6th, federal agents. Was Ray Epps a federal agent or federal informant? Who were the other agents? So stuff like January 6th is going to be the stuff, the secrets that the FBI has that Patel has committed to going in and releasing those secrets to Congress, so Congress can do the oversight that they need to do on this executive branch, that going in and all the secrets that the FBI has been keeping, that Patel has committed to releasing those secrets. So Ray don't want to release the secrets. That's what this whole interaction is about with Whitehouse. Take a listen. Unfinished business. Do you know how many questions for the record the FBI failed to answer in the last 4 years?
I do not.
Well, I'll tell you. There were 9 hearings in this committee in which the FBI was a witness, and in 7 of them, the committee got exactly 0 questions for the record. 7. 0 questions.
It's called stonewalling.
Can you explain that?
Stonewalling.
I cannot. I will say.
Are you going to do any better with the questions that we're getting right now? You've been asked questions for the record. Are they going to go into the same, whatever it was, hole where questions for the record go to die at the FBI?
Well, Senator, first thing I would say about questions for the record is that, as you may know, there is an elaborate interagency process that requires that answers that we provide have
which is immensely convenient for the executive branch. But our questions don't direct that interagency process, do they? And that interagency process doesn't respond to us in Congress, does it?
We're required to comply with the interagency process to provide our responses to questions for the record.
By what?
Now, having said that,
are you required to comply with that interagency process?
I can't cite you the reg or the rule.
Because it seems to me that when the FBI wanted to get information to this committee, particularly when it wanted to get information to Republican members of this committee so they could investigate your investigation of the Trump-Russia connection, that information got right through to our Republican colleagues. It didn't seem to go through any interagency process. It wasn't delayed.
So
he's
accusing Ray of acting as a partisan, but this goes both ways. And he's going to say in a minute here that, I mean, even though he's accusing him of acting like a partisan, that this is bipartisan, that not only have you stonewalled Democrats, you've stonewalled Republicans, you've stonewalled Congress. You're keeping secrets from us, and we're not able to do the oversight that we are responsible of doing, is what Senator Whitehouse is saying.
Most of us, but this was bipartisan, by the way. When I say we got 0 questions for the record answered from those hearings, I mean 0 questions of any member of this committee, not 0 Democratic members answered. Okay? So you've got this basic highway for responses to Congress. Let me ask you just a little sidebar. Do you think Congress deserves responses to questions from executive agencies as part of our oversight responsibility?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. So we're at least over that hurdle. So we've run this rigmarole with the interagency process in which we don't get answers. Some of these go back to 2017, by the way. That's years of not getting our questions answered. And then, when it's a question that's suddenly of interest to one party and to President Trump, there seems to be a little side road that gets built around the traffic jam.
So then he goes back to accusing him of being a partisan again. But the point I'm trying to make is that the FBI, much like they were under J. Edgar Hoover during COINTELPRO, when they were doing covert undercover operations, maybe even illegal, how are we going to know if they're doing covert illegal operations if they're not answering Congress's questions, if they're not even telling Congress what Congress is asking them so Congress can do their oversight? This is the corruption that Donald Trump wants to reform, not only in the FBI, but in the DOJ and in the overall intelligence community. That's why he has appointed Tulsi Gabbard to be the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. That's why he has appointed Kash Patel to be the Director of the FBI. That is why he has appointed Ratcliffe to be the Director of Central Intelligence. That's why he has appointed Pam Bondi and first Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General and head the Justice Department. It is because of all of these secrets and even more. We're going to get into the more in the next podcast, and we're going to go back to the Russiagate investigation, and all of these things are going to come out. The information and what Trump is doing is brilliant. He's flooding the zone with these nominees. People are going to have trouble and conflicts. You're hearing all of the controversy around all these nominees. And Matt Gaetz was unsuccessful. He already had to withdraw his name. Maybe one or two more don't make it through the confirmation process, but the majority of these people are going to make it through. And even the ones that don't make it through, when Trump has to replace them with somebody else, they're going to be firebrands. They're going to be people that are going to have the same vision as the executive, and that is reform. And in the next few podcasts, we're going to go back and we're going to talk about why these agencies need reform. I mean, Hunter Biden's pardon goes back to 2014, but who is the FBI director back in 2014? James Comey. We're going to talk about James Comey. And we're going to talk about his deputy FBI director, Andy McCabe. He's on TV now on MSNBC and on CNN giving his commentary. He was fired. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok is the director of the FBI's counterintelligence division of the FBI. We're going to talk about what they were doing back in 2014, 2015, 2016. We're going to talk about Lisa Page, his girlfriend, who was the DOJ lawyer and who was working with them in the counterintelligence division. We're going to talk about Loretta Lynch, who was the attorney general back then, and she was the attorney general during the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, which was taking place in the FBI under Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe, Lisa Page. We're going to talk about Loretta Lynch's deputy attorney general, Sally Yates. I'm going to tell you about Sally Yates and her involvement. We're going to talk about James Clapper. James Clapper was the director of national intelligence, and he had the job that Trump has now appointed Tulsi Gabbard to do the job. You're going to tell me that Tulsi Gabbard's worse than James Clapper? I got some stuff to tell you about James Clapper. We're going to talk about John Brennan. John Brennan was the CIA director. We're going to talk about what he was doing back in 2014, between 2014 and 2016. We're going to talk about all of this in the next few podcasts. And I'm going to show you, and maybe you can send some stuff to Jamie Raskins, because Jamie Raskins says that COINTELPRO back in the 60s, we saw the corruption, but haven't seen any corruption lately. So I'm going to show you some corruption. Maybe you guys can send it to Jamie Raskins so he can see what we're talking about. Last clip that I want to play is this clip. This is Van Jones. And I never thought that Van Jones, never even considered that Van Jones was a mockingbird until after I saw this clip. And if you don't know Mockingbird, we're going to get into the church committee and talk about the Mockingbird operations and how these people who are in your media are actually working for the intelligence community, and they're working for the intelligence community to spread propaganda, and these people put them on. And I never thought that Van Jones was a mockingbird until I saw this clip, and it makes so much sense now. Of course he's a mockingbird. Of course that's why Bezos gave him all of that money, and why he has no consistency, and he's just on CNN spreading propaganda all the time. But when I heard him say this, I was like, it makes so much sense now. Take a listen.
You have to believe a lot of things that are not true for this to make sense. What is the problem you're trying to solve with our intelligence services? We get a chance to walk around here and not have bombs blowing up all over the place because our intelligence services are doing a fantastic job keeping us safe. If you think that sending a wrecking ball through our intelligence services, putting people in charge whose main qualification is that they're pugilistic, like to pick fights, and like Donald Trump a lot, if they do, that's going to make America a lot safer. The people who are going to pay the price for this experiment are people who are going to lose their lives here in Oklahoma.
Listen.
And so you have to believe things that are not true. Our intelligence services are the best in the world. They don't need to be shaken up and burned to the ground. Same with our law enforcement agencies. They don't need to be shaken up and burned to the ground. And if you do, everything that comes as a consequence of the disruption is on your hands.
So listen to the argument he's making, that these agencies keep us safe. The FBI, the CIA, the intelligence community, they keep you safe. And if you go in and you reform these agencies and you try to shake up these agencies, you start looking at the corruption, you start asking for the secrets and declassifying the secrets, and you shake up these intelligence agencies, then the people who are going to pay are the people who are going to lose their lives because these agencies keep them safe. Wow. When I heard this, I was like, wow, of course this guy's a mockingbird. Who would make a statement like that? Remember what Benjamin Franklin said to the Pennsylvania Assembly: those who give up essential liberties to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. It's a false argument. All right, everyone. I'll be back with episode 270 on Friday, and we'll get further into this. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you on Friday.